Now with the pops and P's and S's, this is how it sounds right in front of it. Dead cat on now for the pops and P's and S's. Okay, so here we are on the Lavalier mic. How does that sound? I've never listened to this yet, so I'm gonna put it in the computer and then I'll be able to react to it. But here's the pops and P's and S's right directly into it. Is the audio quality different when you add the DJI Lavalier mic to the DJI mics? And what are the pros and cons? I've had the first one since they basically came out and I still use them all the time. The convenience is fantastic, but I honestly don't like the look too much. I don't like a big bulky microphone here, and I'd rather run something underneath the shirt. I think if the camera gear can be behind the footage and just not noticed by the audience, it's generally a good thing. Don't get me wrong, this works great, but it's massive, and I don't like that. The new version and the old version don't take the same type of lav mic. One is a TRS, the other one's a TRSS. That kind of refers to the amount of rings that are on here. What's appealing to me on this DJI Lav is the way it attaches at this 90-degree angle. I think that's gonna hold much better in place. This might be much better. It holds in there pretty snug, and that's what I'm hoping for. But with it being 90 degrees like that, you could even run a small piece of gaff tape over top of it if you really wanted to lock it in place temporarily while you're using it. But that's my biggest concern here, is that this would fall out of place. I would record for an hour to find out that 30 minutes of the footage is choppy because the cable was slightly pulling out here and then. Okay, so this is the DJI Mic 2 straight out of the receiver. I'm going to be clipping it on. Oh, interesting. It's got this cool little swivel device on it. So for me, I'll be clipping it on my shirt somewhere, and that's cool that it swivels, so you can kind of angle it up towards your mouth. I just made a big bang there. I wonder if you could hear that well, if it's very good with direction. Now, with some clothing movement, that's the other thing with lavaliers. Sometimes I will tape them underneath when I really don't want to see it, and you can't even see it at all. That's what air sounds like going into it. I forgot to test that. Now plugging into the lav. Does that sound any better? Same thing. Sometimes someone will take a deep breath or breathe hard, and it's good to know if it's going to clip or if it's going to sound terrible or if it's going to sound good. Now, on my first impressions, this sounded really good right here. Down here, it sounded kind of nasally, a little bit in the throat too much. I don't know if mounting it a little bit lower, how does that sound? Does that sound better than this? Also wanted to test underneath the shirt. Okay, so lots of times I'll actually mount it in there. I'll use a chest strap or I'll tape it in. There's plenty of different methods, but that's the location it's gonna be in. And I'm curious to know how it sounds like this. And if I look off to the side or up or talk to somebody over here, is that picking up pretty good audio? Or is it better to clip up here on the shirt? Now, I'm gonna play around with this insert to see if, okay, I pulled it out like 1/8 of an inch and put it back in. Is that cutting the audio out, or does that have a good enough connection? It still holds right there. Hopefully that still holds, because if that did not cut out, then we've got really good news. Now, the cord is not super long compared to a lot of lavalier cords. Sometimes they are 6 foot or whatever, so you could put this down in your shoe. But this one I believe is 3 foot, which is still gonna be good enough for most people's needs if you're clipping it around your waist and anywhere like that. So I think it sounds just as good as the normal mics, like if you don't have this plugged in. Looks a little bit better, and then you can hide it in a couple locations easier if that's the goal, to hide it. If you don't care about hiding the mic, this probably is not worth it, because there's one more point of failure where it could unplug. Although, with it coming out a 1/16 of an inch or so, I could not notice at all in the audio any difference, so that's fantastic. The old connection I had with the Shure mic would skip if it just slightly pulled out. So that's really good, that if this main piece moves around, it's not going to cut out. The swivel connector I think is really, really cool. I like that for what I'm gonna do because I can mount it places easier. So I do like how they have that connection there. The wind and the P's and S's are not really any better than the normal receiver. They sound about the exact same. The other thing is, if I'm standing and moving around, I probably would sound a little bit better on my chest. When I'm talking here, sometimes I kind of am leaning forwards towards the camera, so that's gonna push my chest further away from the mic. I do think up on the neck isn't gonna sound as good as just a little further down as well.